Hello everybody, this is Mr. K, and today we have a '09 Sportster 883 on the table, and I'm going to tell you what his problem is and show you how to fix it, or at least guide you in the right direction on how to fix it. But this customer is stating that whenever he steps on his rear brake pedal, it stays down. And that's not good, because the rear brake drags, and then he's got to take his foot and flick it back up so it doesn't drag. Okay, so a couple things to look for or look at whenever you're dealing with this type of Sportster is this joint right here. Okay, I'm gonna try and do this with me holding the camera. And then there's these like Heim joints down here. There's one on either end, and you want them to be nice and loose. Okay, this one's nice and loose, but not too loose. And as you can see, this side's nice and loose. And I took this apart and cleaned up the bushing and greased it. And as you can see, it's not the pedal or this joint or this rod that's holding it. Okay, so we go back here, and as you can see, it's missing, but this piece fits into another arm which bolts up underneath here. Okay, and what I found is, and I have it over here, is that the little arm that transfers the motion, we had to take the master cylinder off. I should have filmed this as I was doing it, but I was trying to figure out the problem, and I figured it out, and I thought, wow, that's pretty neat. I should share this information with somebody. So it's this little arm right here that transfers the motion from the pedal rod over to the master cylinder. Okay, and let me see if I can get that. What was going on is that it was stuck on this bushing right here. It was stuck. It was stuck to the point to where I had to go ahead and pound this pin out just to loosen it. So when it got movement from the pin and pivots on this to push the master cylinder, it was staying locked because it was stuck on this pin. So what I did was I went ahead and cleaned it all up, and I run a brush through here and keep it lube. I'm going to lube it up. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back together, hopefully so you can see what to look for if your pedal doesn't return on your '09 Sportster. Okay, it's also on a bracket like this. Which bolts up underneath and holds your master cylinder and bolts into the frame and pivots. And that's where it was locked. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put this back together so you can see what I was talking about. Okay, as you can see, this bracket is what mounts up underneath, and when it receives from the rod, it moves this bracket. But it was locked up really tight, and that's what was causing the brake pedal to hang up. And actually, it's held in there by a clip, underneath, as you can see. And his original clip had rusted and broke, so we cleaned it all up. Like I said, you can even take a look. I had to use a drift and to remove that from the bracket. That's how galled in there it was. And now I put some white grease on there, and it's ready for movement. It's nice and smooth now, and it's not going to come out. I will recommend though that whenever you take this bracket off of your bike, it goes underneath of here, okay, like this. And these bolts, they're Torx head bolts, and when they come out, the problem is that your rear wheel is right here, and it throws all the mud and the road grime and all that in there, and it really golds those bolts up that hold everything. And then after the mount is up, then the master cylinder mounts to it, and you can see that's the arm that connects to the other side of this arm with a pin. And these bolts, what happens is they get all kinds of rusted, and you can see right on the end, they go through the frame, and then the back side of the bolt is out in the open, and it catches all that mud, and especially if you ride on a dirt road a lot or something like that. And then they're Torx head bolts, so make sure you have the right size torque bit. And I'll tell you what, because they're really tight in there. I fought like crazy to get those out, and I just kept lubing it, and then going out so many turns and back in so many turns and out so many turns. I just kept working it back and forth to where I was lucky and I got them off. Now I'm going to go ahead and take all these bolts, and here's the Allen head bolts that hold the master cylinder to that bracket. I'm going to wire wheel everything and put some anti-seize on there, so that if we ever have to do this again, we don't have to worry about breaking bolts off, because that would be a bummer. But I lucked out and I got it off, and so I'm going to go ahead and clean all these up and reassemble it, and then I'll show you where we're at. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take these Torx bit bolts that I went ahead and cleaned up. Whoop. And make sure you have the right size Torx. I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on them, just because I know that they've been through the mill. And I'm going to go ahead and get that ready to bolt back up. Now there's two bolts here, as you can see, that lag into the frame. And as you can see, there's your arm that moves. It's still nice and loose. And we'll take your other one. Put some anti-seize on that after we cleaned it all up. Once you get these two bolts in line, there is a third. And we're going to snug these up. I'm just going to snug them up. There is a third, and that is over here. There's a small Torx bit bolt that comes in over here on a hole. And I'll show you that as soon as we get these ones snugged up. So we're going to go ahead and run these in with our hand. Just to get it snug so I can get things to line up. keep it to where it's still movable. I'm going to put some anti-seize on this little one. Alright, and we're going to come over here. And we're going to get this third one. Make sure that's in there. This third one goes right there. And we're going to snug the third one up also. That way everything's nice in order and in line. See where I'm going with that? See where that's going. Go ahead and snug these up, making sure that all this is still moving. So we're going to go ahead and torque these. Now, yeah, make sure these are come over to this side. And re-snug these. Okay, now our bracket's nice and on there, and we still have all of our movement nice and loose. Okay, now our master cylinder is going to bolt up here. See, the end of this master cylinder, let me get this straight for you. Has that end on it. And that end goes in there like that. I'll show you a better angle when I get it lined up. So we're going to go ahead and bolt the master cylinder up to that bracket. And then these bolts are Allen head bolts. And I'm going to use a little bit of anti-seize on those too. And those buggers were really tight coming out. Now I was afraid that my Allen bit was going to round them out. Well, it almost started to. Again, it's because everything is being caught back here by the wheel. They're throwing mud and the stones. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and snug these up. And I'm going to show you a trick that I did in case this happens to you, which I had to do it. It's a 1/4 inch Allen. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. This is all still movable. See how that fits in there? Okay, we have a pin that goes in through there, which activates your master cylinder. But on these Allen head bolts right here, you can see they were so tight that I was trying to get them out with my with my Allen bit, and I was afraid of rounding them off. That's how tight they were. So I even went and grabbed my Allen wrench. And if you're having one that's so tight and you're afraid of stripping it out and it starts to move a little bit, a guy told me a long time ago that if you take a little bit of valve grinding compound, okay, which has a little bit of grit to it, and you take a little bit of it and you just put it on your, you put a little bit of that on your end of your socket, and it helps give you the extra grip so that you don't round out your Allen head. Okay, that's a little tip. All right, so we're going to go back over to here, and we'll put the pin through. Let me see if I can get this for you. Alrighty. This is nice too, because this pin slips down in from the top. And see, it should be nice and loose, no binding. And then this clip goes on here to keep the pin from coming out. It's just like a keychain thing. There you go. Now that pin can't come out. Okay, and your arm is there, your pin is there. Now the last thing we have to do is go ahead and connect our rod to it, and hope everything works. And hopefully our threads aren't messed up. Okay, so I'm going to go get my different ratchet. Okay, so we got the, let me see if I can get this. So we got the bar hooked up here, and it still can move, so it's nice and loose. That pin is on the master cylinder. And then we have all the linkage up here, right back here, and it's not tight. Now you can have binding here, but that wasn't the case. So if you have to take this back off and clean this bushing, first off you would want to take this Allen pinch bolt out, and then on the back side you'll see there's a clip right there. So you'd have to take that clip out, and then this whole chrome piece slips out, and then you can go ahead and clean your bushing that's in your arm and all that. So he would push on his brake pedal and it would stick, but it's actually snapping back now. Yeah, nice. So if you have an 09 Sportster with forward controls and your rear brake pedal sticks when you push down on it, it could be here, it could be in this bar, but it also could be this unit up underneath here. That transfers motion into the master cylinder. Well, okay, I hope that helps somebody. And let me know if it does. If not, hope you enjoyed it, and have a great summer, guys. Out.